Welcome back to another high-level match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is a best-of-5 series of Zerg versus Protoss, where all of the games, they are played on new maps. This particular series was played a couple of weeks ago during the Team Liquid map contest. Now, I've seen the maps, as far as like the JPEG and the overview of the map goes, but I haven't actually seen any games on any of these maps yet, so I'm excited for it. Spawning right here in the top right-hand corner of the map Carnivore. Playing with the Red Protoss probes from South Korea, we have herO, and his opponent in the opposite corner from Canada, playing with the blue Zerg drones. We're looking inside of the main base of Scarlett. Alrighty, so Scarlett versus herO in a best-of-5 series on all new maps. In case you're unfamiliar, the TLMC, it basically is a tournament that goes on for quite a long time, actually. You can make your own maps. There's like a list of guidelines that you have to have in your maps as well, but basically you get to make your own maps and you can submit them. A jury selects the very best ones. Then eventually there's a tournament run, so the TLMC, the Team Liquid map contest, and then eventually the community gets to vote on what the very best maps are. Carnivore. So as these games were being played, I don't think the voting was done yet, but Carnivore, it ended up ranking as 10th. Now, in the past, even though the community may have decided that, yes, this right here is the very best map from the Team Liquid map contest, as a matter of fact, it was with the most recent one before this, they may very well not be the ones that actually get selected as ladder maps eventually. So last season, I'm forgetting the name right now, but there was a map made by Maris. Maris made an awesome map, but for some reason it wasn't selected to be a ladder map. I think there was something wrong with like the 4th base and the 5th base layout, if I recall correctly. I'm not exactly sure what the reasoning was anymore at that time, but anyways, Carnivore, even though it ranked 10th overall with the TLMC, that certainly doesn't mean, even though we only have 7 maps in the StarCraft 2 map pool, that certainly doesn't mean that this map has no shot at making it onto the ladder. Alrighty, so let's see. I have looked at the JPEGs for these maps, so like the map layouts, but I haven't seen any games yet, so it's gonna take me a little bit to get used to everything that's going on. Most of the maps were relatively normal, so nothing all too spicy, nothing all too crazy. A part of that is due to the fact that, well, they made a pretty long list of, ooh, okay, nicely done right there. She still had that drone selected, apparently. Morphing in a Spore Crawler right away, only losing a link there. Anyways, most of the maps were relatively normal, quote-unquote normal. Now, I've been assured, by the way, that the TLMC, this version of the tournament, has been sponsored by Monster, but it's not, like, it would be a disaster if in literally every single cast I'm gonna do from here on out on new maps, we're gonna have, you know, ads in every single, like, I'm not getting paid for any of this, okay? This is just the sponsor of the Team Liquid map contest. I'm assuming that when Blizzard makes the actual tournament map pool and the ladder map pool, that they're not gonna be running this exact version of the map. But in the past, we have seen them make some mistakes as far as that goes, but I'm assuming there's no way. There's no way, right, that is going to happen? Anyways, I decided to pick a Zerg versus Protoss for this particular series, just because ZVP early game is very well figured out these days. So for the first few minutes, we can probably talk about the tournament and look around the map. Alright, so first Oracle going in. We have a standard timing right here on the 3rd Nexus, maybe 10 seconds or so later than it could have been, but that's because herO has been busy. Lair started up right now by Scarlett. She's gonna go ahead and transition towards about a 4-minute Lair here. That is quite early. So we have to see if she has something in store here. There's no Roach Warren, no Baneling Nest, no Evo Chambers, no nothing. So maybe she's gonna play quick Hydras or something like that. We haven't really seen a lot of Hydra play recently in ZVP, but that's the only reason I can really imagine that you would go for such a quick Lair. Could also go for a Spire, I suppose, but that would be very dangerous if the opponent does decide to go for, I don't know, any follow-up, really. If herO decides to go for a Glaive attack, for example, with the depth right now, that could be an absolute disaster. herO, though, going for a standard timing here on the Twilight Council. Would you look at that? I thought he was actually just gonna go straight Blink here, but it is indeed gonna be Glaives. There's the Hydra then coming up, okay. So Glaive to Depths, they are very good against light Zerg units, and it turns out that Zerglings as well as Hydralisks are both light. Or both light. There you go. Alright, so let's look around the map real quick. So far this does look relatively normal. We have some dinosaur marks over here on some locations, I guess. I don't really know exactly what they're supposed to be, but It does sort of look like a massive Zerg at some point walked around here. Godzilla himself. That is a lot of adepts, by the way, right now. This is the first time Scarlett is going to see them. Obviously, one advantage of Hydras and Lynx is that their damage per second is very high, so sometimes we just simply see these adepts melt, but you do need to have a sufficient amount of them. Seems like you can spread creep, by the way, very easily in the direction right there of where the opponent is located. Yeah, this is gonna be scary. This is gonna be a scary attack right here from herO, and honestly, it may be able to deal lethal amounts of damage. Whenever these adepts start shading and you need to start chasing them and you need to react to them as they've already shaded, that's when you know Zerg is in a little bit of trouble. Excellent start right here for herO. 57 probes versus 40 drones. And this is certainly not the only kills he's gonna get. I mean, if he decides to commit to a mineral line at the very least. I wouldn't even mind it though if he decided to just go home and just make a lot of army. Because at this point, Scarlett is almost forced into an all-in. Okay, Fort starts up here. I guess that's okay. But honestly, I think we should just make a whole lot of units. At this point, herO is so far ahead when it comes to the income count, right? Like his income is just gonna absolutely skyrocket here. So these rocks, this little divot at the bottom of the third, they're gonna be kind of interesting here. Yeah. There's a lot of entrances into the Protoss' third base. And you could even bring the queens to the front here, right? If you decide to knock down these rocks over here, both of them, that would be amazing. Good stasis ward here for now, though. Gonna push Scarlett away. All that herO really needs is just time. Just warp in as many units as possible. He's now going into a Robo Bay as well. The Robo Bay is gonna be amazing for either Disruptors or even Colossi. I think Colossi would be excellent. These Zerglings also, a lot of them, are gonna go down before they really get much done. Battery overcharge was used, so at the very least that's gonna be on cooldown. Yep, it is indeed gonna be Colossi, as we've got ourselves the extended thermal lens coming up. Unless Scarlett manages to kill an entire base, either with like a Zergling run by or... she needs to do something here. If she's gonna play this at 39 workers versus 67, with Colossi on the way, I don't really see how this is ever going to work out right here for the Canadian. Yeah. I think queen pushes would be amazing though on this map, although you would be pushing up a little ramp here. So that's pretty interesting. Adepts decided to go all the way around, and this is kind of a lovely move. You can always recall. I wouldn't even mind seeing a recall here, to be honest. Okay, nice popping right there off the stasis ward. I actually don't know if I like this attack all too much. I think an instant recall probably would have been a little bit better. But I think whatever herO is trying to do, it's just to buy time. These adepts, they do tend to fall off as the game goes on. Even a fourth Nexus? He's thinking about it. Not quite yet. Alright, here's the Banelings coming up. So Scarlett has been at 39 workers for a very long time. She basically never saturated this base over here. And herO has seen that coming in from a mile away. So he must know that there's an all-in on the horizon. Alright, one final push right here from Scarlett. This is gonna have to win the game. There's 2 Colossi available. There's a stasis ward set up as well. Those stasis actually putting in a lot of work. Battery overcharge, trying to protect those probes in the mineral line. Scarlett needs to essentially kill all of this in order to justify this attack. And even then it would be hard because 8 drones have gone down on the other side. Game number 1 on Carnivore has been herO from start to finish. Alrighty. Game number 2, we find ourselves on the map Shipping News. This particular map made it to 3rd place in the TLMC, and it's made by a user called Depressed One. That's a little sad. I heard that this particular map is absolutely broken, specifically because of this very cursed looking base. Here's the thing. In theory, this could be really cool. But what this essentially is a third base where half of your income is gonna be significantly higher than it would normally be. It's very easy to acquire, and from what I've heard at the very least, Wardy mentioned that this map seems to be incredibly good for Zerg. So the other races don't have as easy a time to take that expansion, and I wonder if that's gonna be something that we'll see as well in this particular game. So, Shipping News is made by Depressed One. It's a 4-level macro category map. It was created to enlighten an old idea and revive the hybrid mineral bases. The idea is that you have a 6-patch base with 3 golden and 3 blue minerals that has the same mineral income as a quote-unquote normal base, but with less workers needed. The hybrid base only has one gas and is placed between the natural and the third. Players might want to skip the natural base in order to get a hybrid base first for some sort of early game aggression that's mineral heavy, like a 2-base all-in or a timing attack, but it has only one Vespian Geyser because we need to prevent any type of early gas type build orders and any form of disadvantage for Terran players. Okay, so that's the description, by the way, that the press one wrote. He says, for the rest, the map has a defensive and technical layout. The triangle third has an additional narrow path with a slow zone. It was created in order to have easy access to the Zel Naga Tower, and a slow zone should stop an opponent from sneaking in. Okay, so that's this what is that? There's a little, ooh, you see that little graphical glitch there? That was interesting. Anyways, so yeah, Scarlett already taking what apparently is now named the hybrid base. This little choke point here is very interesting, though. This is like a corridor leading towards what would normally be the third base. I mean, you can very easily take 5 bases on this map as Terran as well. It's just that there's a lot of entrances into this, but there's a slow zone right over here. There's watchtowers as well in the center of the map, behind some line of sight blockers. Couple of, I guess we can call them, I don't know, I was gonna say bridges, but that's not really what's going on. Look at that guy. Playing the marine drums. Yeah, we have some speed up circles here as well at the bottom of the map. So there's like a really long corridor again. So in my initial review of the maps, when they first announced the maps that made it to the actual map contest, I actually really like the idea of shipping news. Last time around that the pressed one also made a map. I think he's a relatively new map maker. At least the name didn't ring a bell for me. Maybe I'm mistaken. But anyways, last time he made a really cool map as well that also did well in the TLMC. But I don't think we actually got that one in the map pool either. I actually thought it was awesome. One of my favorite ones. Or one of my personal favorites, at least from what I saw. But again, I only saw a very small amount of games on those maps. And it's always a little bit difficult to really pass an opinion until you've seen at least like 24 games or so. Yeah, so even though this map ranked 3rd, from what I understand, it may very well be very hard to actually play on if you're not playing Zerg. Zerg, of course, very well known for their fast expansions, and those golden minerals are really going to be a nice boost. Look at that, Scarlett also forcing those drones there to go onto the golden minerals, which is very cute. There are, of course, some locations here where the Adept actually decided to commit. There are some locations. Oh, Oracle coming in clutch as well. This is actually a lot of damage. Yeah, Scarlett assuming that the opponent would go straight for the 3rd. That's where the Spore Crawler is coming up, but 8 drones is way too much. Okay. There are going to be some locations where you could, for example, have like a, I don't know, a siege tank over here on the low ground. That would certainly be in range right over here. Like a siege tank on the low ground. Marine drop on the high ground. It'd be kind of cool. Quick 3rd Nexus here coming up as well for herO. Yeah, there are a lot of entrances into this base, right? The thing is, all of these choke points are very tight. So you don't really need that many structures to wall it off. The problem with making interesting maps, like for example this one, is that players would have to change their strategies almost entirely. So actually full sacrifice right here, it seems. That's so many workers. 13 probes, or drones rather, have gone down. Zerg probes. That's way too many. But yeah, you're gonna have to change your strategies for a map like this. And a lot of pro gamers in particular, they're not a fan. They don't really like that. They don't really like being forced to change their strategies because the game is already hard enough as it is. But I personally wouldn't mind seeing at least a little bit of variety. So for the longest time in StarCraft 2, the Adepts actually do commit. We've had 7 maps in the map pool. And obviously, if you're playing a best-of-3, you get to veto 2 maps each. If you're playing a best-of-5, both players get to veto 1 map each. And then they pick the order. I would kind of like to see a 9-map map pool. I think that would be interesting. Then maybe a map like this could make it in relatively easily. With a 7-map pool, though, you're really almost forced to play less experimental maps, right? Like you'd have to play something, like you can't really take any chances. Because with 7 maps in tournament grand finals, if one of the maps turns out to be terrible, I mean, it may be map 7 in the tournament, but there's a good chance we will still see it quite frequently. Whereas if you have a 9-map map pool, you could get definitely a little bit more experimental, I think. It would be something interesting, but I don't know if we're ever gonna have 9 maps in the map pool. It'd be nice to have for one season at the very least. There's certainly a lot of maps that are still being made. And with these tournaments on the line as well, and map makers actually able to earn a good amount of money for making maps, I think it would be neat. I think it'd be very cool. Anyways, what exactly do we have right here for Zerg? So Zerg has got a lot of worker losses. 18 drones have gone down. Infestation pit over here. I would imagine that this is either for a hive or for even swarm hosts. I think both would be an interesting choice. The problem is herO is just going for his standard follow-up here. So the fort is a little bit later than I would have liked to see it. Fourth Nexus though, nice and quick. This Zergling run by is very dangerous. Yeah, we're gonna need some sort of static defense over here. 9 overlords coming up. Okay, this has to be swarm hosts. Either that or a gigantic error, but I don't think it's an error. The problem right now though is that when you do go for swarm hosts, these stalkers are gonna have free reign for quite a while. Yeah, Scarlett actually going into additional roaches, ravagers, and lynx right now. I think she's actually just scared of losing this game within the next minute. herO is very well known for his phenomenal stalker control. Yeah, he's playing this very cautiously. I think he's realized at this point that he doesn't really need to push. Just containing the creep is actually already quite nice. We don't really have any active tumors here other than the one up north. Okay. So Scarlett actually is just able to do whatever she likes here for at least a little while. I'm surprised we haven't seen any transition yet to watch any other units. There we go. Okay. Yeah. So my initial gut instinct there was correct. We're basically just going full Roach Ravager Ling with Swarm Host for support. Okay. So normally we only ever really see Zerg players going Swarm Host whenever they feel pressured into it. So whenever they feel like, okay, I can't possibly play a normal game here. I have to try and pull a rabbit out of a hat. Swarm Hosts are a fantastic comeback unit for Zerg. They can deal a lot of damage, and if Protoss doesn't handle it properly, they can definitely fall. The problem with Swarm Hosts, though, is look at the supply count right now. Scarlett is suddenly maxed out. And that's sudden because of the Swarm Hosts. The Swarm Hosts just are very supply heavy. And you need to try your very best to keep those units moving the entire time and activate it on cooldown. So they can spawn Locust every little bit, and there we go. You need to really try and get this all going. Now this is a nice siege unit though, that you can definitely, yeah, have harassing these bases easily. Okay. It's a lot of damage already being done here by the Zerg player. For some reason, a couple of the Swarm Hosts probably on the wrong hotkey there. Roaches and Raptors pushing here to the front too. I really do like how Mr. herO is handling this though overall. 13 probes did go down, which does suck, but he just sort of stood there and fought it all. One thing you're really trying to do here as Protoss, maybe that's not ideal, but this chase down over here is fantastic. Yeah, really lovely work right there by herO. What you're really trying to do here as Protoss is get your army supply up. So usually once Protoss, you can see the army supply here at the bottom of the screen, he's currently at 74. Usually once Protoss hits about 110, maybe 120 or so army supply, assuming they're making the right units, of course. Colossus coming up, I like it. Usually once they get to that point, Swarm Hosts are not nearly as strong anymore. And Scarlett is well aware of that too. She's gonna try and just activate these Locust waves over and over and over again to keep that Protoss army as tiny as possible. We have a little bit of misrallying here though. Okay, slow zone over here. Yeah, that's actually sick. You can't really retreat through the slow zone, obviously, against disruptors. So Scarlett could really only go one other way, but that also wasn't really a great angle to retreat from, so... Good connection right there, once again, by the South Korean Protoss. 18 additional drones fired up right now for Scarlett, so she's probably planning on playing a longer game here. This is scary, though. If you have that much more supply caught up... Now, this is a nice catch. That Colossus is definitely going to go down. Disruptor maybe goes down too. Not bad. Swarm Host coming in with the flank. There's an overextension right here by herO for sure. Yeah. Whenever you've got like 80-something workers, though, so 78-ish workers, and you're going Swarm Host, your actual army is going to be tiny. It's going to be really small. So you have to keep fighting just to try and keep that Protoss army as small as possible too. Because if herO keeps on building up his army supply count, this game is going to be very rough. Very good for herO though. Okay. 5th Nexus. Looks like we've got it coming up north. Yeah, this base over here is actually... I thought this would be a relatively easy 5th to take, but looking at it a little bit more, it's incredibly open. Not very easy to get that done at all. Okay, 5 probes going down there. How many workers have gone down? Yeah. It's a few probes here, a few probes there. But overall, Scarlett has actually done a pretty significant amount of damage. And she may just be able to control this Protoss economy, right? If you can keep the Protoss occupied on only this amount of bases, you can see that already the main and the natural, they're starting to run low. These golden minerals are not going to last forever either. If she can prevent the Protoss from ever getting up a 5th, while mining a good chunk of resources herself, that might be another way to win this game. Vipers, by the way, come up as well. Abductions here are going to be fantastic against the Colossi and the Disruptors. I mean, the Colossus count is really growing here. Stasis Ward there has been triggered. Nice pickup control right there, though, by herO. Trying to just keep all of those Colossi alive. And this, once again, is an amazing engagement here for Protoss. I feel like both herO and MaxSpec really take engagement so much better than other Protoss players do. Like, they consistently seem to confidently fight against Zerg. Also against Terran, for what it's worth, but we don't normally see Protoss players blinking that aggressively. Usually whenever Protoss players attempt it, it goes horribly wrong. Anyways, Vipers right now are available though. herO sees them here for the very first time, and that is a couple of them getting yoinked right away. Yeah, and that is painful. Those Colossi, okay, nice pickup micro right there. Those Colossi are super important to make sure that all of those Locusts get zapped down. The only thing that's really missing in his army is an Observer. I wouldn't mind seeing an Observer here to clean up all of those creep tumors. Aw, nicely done there by herO, man. Okay, so what really should have been like 4 Colossi kills ends up, well, only being 2 here in total in this game. Nidus Worm coming up. The Nidus Network usually accompanies the Ravagers and the Swarm Host here. Still good as well, of course, with Ravagers and Roaches in the main base, for example, but... in the meantime, 5th Nexus coming up as well. There's that little Locust wave once again. Actually, Swarm Hosts seem really good on a map like this. Yeah. This location with siege units is very harassable. I was talking about siege tanks earlier in that spot. Maybe, oh, good. Okay, very nice feedbacks there. Maybe Swarm Hosts are the Zerg version of the of the siege tank. Maybe not entirely though. It's a little bit different, huh? Okay, we have Sonic Storm coming up too. Always a nice bit of damage. And maybe more importantly though, this base is now done. I wouldn't mind seeing some static defense here. Scarlett has got a gajillion minerals in the bank. Not exactly sure what she's gonna use that Hydralisk then for. Maybe she wants to transition towards Lurkers or something along those lines. herO though has now brought an Observer to the mix as well, and that is fantastic. Killing as many of those creep tumors as possible is absolute key. Not really allowing Zerg as much mobility here. Yeah, there's the Lurker then. Okay, so she's trying to get the Lurkers going, but Lurkers are expensive, and she doesn't really have that much gas at this point. We really need to see these gases taken as soon as possible. Here we go once again. Feedbacks, okay, on the Vipers. There's still Storms available too. Disruptor, though, does not actually get its detonation off. Locust coming in from the north. Where's the Storms? There we go. The Storms were a little bit later than I would have liked to, but I guess in the end, herO does create a choke point in his base, and this base, there you go, will end up getting roasted. Normally, Protoss always seems to take a little bit longer to adjust to map pools, because you need to know very clearly where to put down all your structures. Zerg doesn't really think about that as much. Terran, maybe a little bit more as Zerg, obviously, but Protoss really has to be deliberate with where they place all of their things down. I mean, I'm not really too fond of all of this. But so far, as long as you're the aggressor, I guess, life is pretty good. Storm does, by the way, hit flying units as well. So those Locusts, they do get bruised. A lot of choke points on this map, though. You know what? Maybe Shipping News is not going to be the most balanced map. I don't know. But I gotta say, I really like the look of this map. Big detonations there once again. Nidus Worm coming up on the other side of the map. Colossi very low. Not in range right there of the War Prism, but... Even though herO does lose his heavy hitters, he may very well be winning the war. I'm assuming the Swarmos want to go across, but... At this point, they're really needed, I guess, at home as well. I mean, they're in the Worm right now. Scarlett may very well end up losing a lot more units, though. Those Disruptors are absolutely fantastic. Here comes the Zerg once again, pushing all of this back. I wonder if herO should be making a transition towards higher tier units himself. Maybe some flying units, right? Would not be a bad call. Because even though the fights have been going well for him, I think he's actually bleeding out a bit too much here over the last few engagements. Okay. Swarmos are gonna have their Locust available again very soon. Still a lot of run-by potential. herO, by the way, has been F2ing a lot. He's been using the Army hotkey a little bit too liberally. Apparently, we're now putting probes on hold position just so you don't accidentally get that pulled away. Okay. Now we have Swarmos, though, inside of the Worm. The Swarmos, Worm, and, you know, the combination of where it's really scary. Lovely little bit of decoration, by the way, here. Sorry, I'm just gonna look at the decorations here for a little bit. Look at that. That's actually really sick. Wow, that's actually really pretty. This is something we've really been spoiled by, man. If you look at maps in StarCraft 2 from like 2013 or whatever, right? Any of the early days, the maps were ugly compared to where we're at these days. One way to separate your maps from the competition, and there's a lot of competitors when it comes to making maps. One way to separate it all is by having a good looking, you know, bit of what do you call this? Like decoration, I guess is the best word I can come up with here. Just having a pretty looking map that doesn't really look like everything else. Look at the Alliance logo here as well, okay. Is this your average Alliance player? It's an Alliance dumpster, I guess. Very nice. Lurkers are available right now, though. They're chasing down Zealots, which is a bit awkward if you don't have all of the upgrades. Oh, she does actually have all of the upgrades already. Okay. They really did seem to burrow kind of slow there, but anyways. Lurkers are going to be able to get underground again. Nidus Worm was so far forward that apparently it could just get killed. When Scarlett was building it, there wasn't really a consideration of Protoss just walking into the third. Or, I keep calling this the third, but this is actually the third right over here. I guess this is the fourth. Anyways, here we go again. herO. Same unit composition as last time. More Disruptors and more Colossi, though. Oh, nice hits right over there on those Disruptors. Disruptors using their Purification Novas. New Nidus Worm comes up in basically the same spot. Scarlett's taken all of these bases, though, on her side of the map. We have a little Swarm Host flyby over here once again. But already, the Nidus Worm is gonna get sniped. Little speed zone over here. This is a really cool dynamic map. Yeah. Now, obviously, I play Zerg myself, primarily. So maybe I'm a little bit biased when it comes to map reviews, and I try not to be. I try to be objective here, but it could certainly be really cool. The current map pool, by the way, in StarCraft 2, just as a point of reference, even by Terran players, is considered to be Terran favorite. And whenever Terran players are usually the loudest, the Terran programmers, they seem to be quite vocal whenever something doesn't quite go their way. Even Terran players right now are saying, yeah, current game may be a little bit too good for Terran, and it may be a little bit too much, especially for Protoss players to deal with. Battery overcharge here once again in the third base. 26 probes, by the way. Could yeah, certainly do with a new set of minerals. Anyways, this would definitely not be a Terran map, though. At least from what I've seen here so far. This may very well be a Zerg map. Back in the day, actually. So there's a big engagement over here up north. Scarlett should be able to kill that base and get out. I'm assuming she's gonna get out. Zealot run by here over in the bottom section of the map. Okay, Viper. Viper's really important here. Purification Novas, though. He decides to commit. He decides to commit. Blinding Clouds over there. Yeah, that was too much. That was way too much. Beautiful player right there by Scarlett. herO wanted to just, okay, commit to one final attack and very quickly clean up those lurkers. That wasn't gonna happen like that though, with Vipers up in the air. Alrighty, next up we find ourselves on Institute. This particular map, it ranked 13th. So what I was gonna say earlier, back in the day, during the StarCraft Brood War days, when Flash was still competing, Flash was considered to be a little bit too good at Terran, and Terran in general just seemed to be a little bit too oppressive. Now, Blizzard wasn't, you know, the most communicative, and maybe right now they're kind of in that spot as well, where they're not really updating the game very often. And Brood War was very well known for not really getting a whole lot of updates and a whole lot of patches. So what essentially ended up happening is the map pools that were around got progressively less Terran friendly. Which is one way to do it. Okay, hold up right now. Scarlett going for a proxy hatchery. Oh, I remember this map. I remember reviewing this map. I thought the map layout looked awesome, but it seemed impossible to play for Protoss versus Terran in particular. So Protoss versus Terran right now already seems to be a little bit too Terran favored, and the most popular build is the Blink Stalker into the main base. Turns out I don't think you can actually Blink Stalkers into the main base over here, which... yeah, immediately disqualifies. What's going on though? What are we doing right now, Scarlett? Maybe you can. Maybe you can. I'd have to watch a couple games. Maybe there's like a two-step kind of plan over here. Maybe you can reach it from here over there. Maybe these boxes just need to be removed. Okay. Anyways, Scarlett is gonna do, a Neo-Humanity type of move, where we're mining out the small mineral fields here in the side of the natural. And herO is actually checking this right now. Is he clicking the mineral fields? Okay, he's not clicking the mineral fields. This pylon is not gonna have vision for a little bit longer either. herO is looking around the map. He's seen the timing of the pool and the gas. So he must realize at this point that there's something fishy. Yeah, he's checked every side on the Zerg side of the map, or every base on the Zerg side of the map. Okay, at this point he must see a little bit of creep. So how in the world is this going to play out, Scarlett? What are we gonna do? Okay. Just a straight cancel right there. Straight cancel on the Nexus. Apparently herO is gonna go Robo Facility here together with a Forge. Maybe he's considering making a Wolof over here. I'm not exactly sure. Link Speed has been fired up right here by the Canadian Zerg player. And she's just gonna flood the map with Zerglings. Flood the map with happy Zerglings. Yalala. Okay, no, sorry. Too early for that. It's one of the hottest days of the year over here in the Netherlands. Maybe not the best moment for Christmas songs. Anyways. Photon cannons? There's a photon cannon coming up. So we have a spine crawler versus photon cannon rush over here. Not exactly sure how this will play out. We did go for an inject, by the way, so no creep here spreading towards the high ground any more than there already is. No way for that spore crawler or spine crawler rather to at the very least burrow here on the high ground. Bane's coming up on the back of this too. I guess as long as you have high ground vision though, which that Overlord is actually providing there, that's nice. Yeah, the spine crawler is still gonna be able to poke away. Robo is now producing an immortal. This is a very interesting situation though, look at this. I like this map, It's a shame you can't blink into the main base, this looks cool. Okay. I mean, sure, but also not really. Ugh, that was an ugly engagement for Zerg. She's gonna be able to clean up at least most of those structures here, but I don't know if I like it all too much. I was thinking maybe a Warp Prism on the back of this. 23 workers, by the way, available right now here for herO. That fight certainly wasn't ideal, though. Maybe herO was assuming that this would be a Roach Ravager type of push rather than a Ling Bane type of attack. Anyways, Immortals are still going to be pretty good, and these Zerglings are certainly causing a lot of lost mining time in the main base. The static defense here for Protoss, though. I mean, a lot of Zerg players are used to dealing with that in their natural. Now it's being used defensively, the way God and Blizzard originally had it intended. It's going to be very difficult to break through this now. Okay, there's the spine crawler, but the battery is going to be in range. Yeah. Nice force field right there as well by the South Korean Protoss. And yeah, that's gonna seal the deal. GG is cold, and it's herO who gets another point on the board. Next up, we find ourselves on a map called Harbinger. Now, would you look at that? Is that where your natural's supposed to go? I don't know, man. That seems like a bad situation. I guess it is the only spot where your Nexus is actually going to be able to fit, yeah. Oh my god, look at that hatchery. Some sort of black hole type of thing here. Okay. This particular map, it ranked 14th overall. We haven't actually seen any maps yet on the map that made it out in first place and the map that made it out in second. So maybe they're coming up after this one, assuming Scarlett wins this map. But there's a map called Oceanborn that ended up taking first in the Team Liquid map contest, and a map called Hackett that ended up taking second. There's also another map called Golden Aura that I actually saw and it looked really sick. If you're interested in any more of these videos, because I will certainly upload more videos from this particular tournament, make sure you subscribe so you get notified as soon as those videos go live. I try to post new StarCraft content pretty much every day. Although moving forward, I think we may very well end up at a spot as well where I'll be posting quite a bit of Stormgate content. I mean, right now there's not that much to post, but as soon as there's more to know about the game, I will definitely make sure to post that in a video too. Okay. Here's the OV. Flying forward. Scarlett's gonna see that her opponent also did make a Nexus on the black hole. Very dangerous thing to do. Amon might be creeping through it at some point, man. You never know. Okay, so let's look around for a little bit. Some slow zones over here. Okay, there's another slow zone in this area. Now that's an interesting situation. So we have a little pillar over here where your overlord could chill. But then there's a slow zone as well. That's interesting. I think on this particular map, is this the map where you can knock down the rocks to destroy the slow zones? Is that this one? I think it may actually just very well be. I think some of these rocks may be attackable, judging right there by the mini-map. I think some of these rocks are attackable, and then you can effectively destroy the slow zones. We'd have to have something in range right here to be able to click on it. Yeah. So this over here, for example, is a rock tower. Yeah. So if you destroy the rock tower... Oh my god. I wasn't paying attention to the strategies here at all. What are we doing? Anyways, if you kill the rock tower, it destroys the slow zone, and then you have to destroy the rocks, and then eventually, I guess you have an open map. Scarlett is doing a drone pool. This is not a particularly great strategy if herO sees it coming. herO, though, doesn't really realize exactly what he's playing against until right now, but he did have a probe sitting there. Probably realized that something was a bit fishy, and that is not good right here for the Zerg player. I mean, maybe the Adept ends up going down. That kind of sucks for the Adept, but for the Protoss here, as long as the Wolof is good, I think he should be able to stay alive, sort of, maybe. Drones decide to go back home. Excellent re-walling right here, by the way, from herO. That's a lot of shield batteries. I don't think there's any holes over here. Nope. Scarlett was crossing her fingers as well, hoping that there would be a little bit of a moment. Sentry pops out. Are we gonna try and run in? Nah. It's not gonna happen. Okay. Bit of a cursed-looking Wolof right now, but it's gonna be enough. It is gonna be enough. Okay. Scarlett's been redroning. I like this. Dark Shrine on the back it is here from our Protoss player. So Prism coming up. Is going to be 4 gateways, Dark Templar. Very cute. Very nice. Double gas here on the back of this too. We could even fire up the charge upgrade if we really want to. Maybe go for a couple Dark Templar first and then Archon Zealot on the back of it. Okay. This gets cancelled. Yeah. So Scarlett right here sees the Warp Prism, and that's a big indicator, of course, that there's no Stargate out, even though it's a flying unit. Or a flying unit, rather. This particular unit does not come out of the Stargate. So she does actually fire up a few Spore Crawlers still. Yeah, I think she is thinking about Dark Templar here, too. Man, this is a really cool little graphic as well, though. Look at these maps, man. Look, there's a freaking rock underneath this. Genuinely, map makers have gotten so good at... Like, this is like Dragon skills, but then even crazier and even more creative. I wonder if maybe at some point this is gonna be annoying to look at, but... At least my initial impressions are very positive. Okay, the invisible men have arrived. Scarlett doesn't know. That Nexus is in a world of trouble. That Zerg Nexus, that is. That hatchery is gonna go down for sure. Beautiful decision making right there by herO. This is a late third, but the third right now is gonna be sooner than the Zerg. And whenever that's the case, you know, life is pretty good here for the Protoss player. There may be some sort of all-in on the back of this here from Scarlett, which is okay, but it's gonna be hard to really get much done here. Yeah, there's a little link counterattack that's slow zone actually, slowing everything down. I wonder if it's a good idea here for... Like, if you knock down the rock tower over here, it's gonna make... Yeah, it's gonna make this even more defendable, right? The slow zone is nice, but just cutting it off entirely means that Zerg is gonna have another choke point to deal with. Although I guess when they then kill the rocks, it would be wide open again, but it would take a while. The longer that this goes on, I think the better it's gonna be here for herO. New third hatchery now, building over here on the right side of the natural. Drones are already gonna move on over there. We really need to spread these creep tumors around, because Zerg's gonna be in the dark. I didn't really pay attention, by the way, to the Archon drops, because I was looking around at the map features and the links and all that, but... Judging here by how many workers have gone down and the fact that the Prism apparently went back home, not a whole lot of damage was done. Now, this is kind of nice, though. Yeah. Okay. Immortal, Stalker, +1 weapons here for herO. Those guys, the Archons, didn't even get to witness their own kill there. They were already snatched back into the prism before they even had the drone kill. Somehow the drone still died though. Apparently it takes a moment. Okay. Roach speed together with +1 missile. Very nice here for the Zerg. A good power spike. But I wonder if it's gonna be enough. Look at this, an Archon surround. Scarlett looks at that army. She knows that there's Immortals as well. There's really no way for her to hold on with the army that she's got right now. And because of that, she decides to tap out. It's herO who obtains the victory in this best-of-5 series, 3-1. Hey, let me know down below in the comment section, which of these maps did you like the most? So we started off on Carnivore, then we went to Shipping News, then we were on Institute, and this last one is called Harbinger. Let me know